again. He goes,
No,
yeah,
no.
he goes,
Right.
that was right. Yeah.
Right, right,
Yeah.
right.
So,
Actually, well, this is my niece gave me this. It's all women in
yeah.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. Love it.
key women leaders.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wish you could fill the back too.
Yeah, well, we could fill the back.
Yeah.
But there is nothing on this
Yeah.
this particular one. But we're working on filling the back.
We are.
I'm not going to get into all
Yeah.
of that
Yep,
because
yep.
this is an IPN. This is the Interfaith Peace Network, which is a program under a 501c3.
Yeah, okay.
Which is Riverside Salem, actually.
Okay.
And then also is, closely allied to the Western New York Peace Center because I'm the former director, is part of it because Riverside Salem was actually the parent organization at the outset of the
Oh, of the
Western
Peace
New
Center?
York Peace Center. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
In 1967 when it was started as part of Dr. King's Clergy
Clergy,
and
yeah.
Laity.
Wow.
Clergy and Laity Concerned.
That's fantastic.
So, yeah, so Deidre actually, so she was copied. So there's also Talking Peace with the Western New York Peace Center. And then because she is scrambling to do what I was doing.
Today. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I was 20 hours a week, but I was doing 60 hours a week because I could, because I wanted to. She's doing 20 hours. It's a 20-hour a week job. So she's
Okay.
doing 20 hours, and she only has 20
20 hours to give.
So things are on a whole different, schedule.
Yeah. You can only give
everything.
what you can give. You
Right.
can only do what you can do.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
People that have the extra
I
time.
was doing, for years, I've been doing 2 and even sometimes 3 hours a week, every single week.
Wow.
Can you believe that?
Yeah.
On top of all the other, there's a part of me.
You don't know where you find the time. And
But
then when you
somehow
stop.
you just-
Right. But when
Yeah.
you stop doing it, though, this is the thing that I've learned. When you stop doing it, though, you're like, how did I ever have
That's
those
what I'm
hours? Because
telling.
I don't
That's what I'm
feel the
telling.
extra hours.
Yeah, and I don't
feel
feel like I have more time
Yeah,
now.
right,
And I
exactly,
don't.
that's it.
I don't. It's as bad as ever, and it's like, Anyway, if we're ready, tell me. So don't let the fact that we keep talking stop you.
Sorry.
Yeah, no.
good
no,
conversation.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. It certainly is.
Okay, Facebook is told me they're okay with
Okay.
your
Perfect timing.
with
Ooh,
your
let me turn off
description
my-
of the show.
I'm going to turn off my phone ringer. That's another thing. And, and let me look at the things, the values, the Labor Day,
Okay, to get more viewers, I'm going to put this on Vicki's page. I'll put it on the Western New York Peace Center page. Should I put it on your Facebook page?
I do not have a Facebook page.
Oh, okay.
I don't. Yeah.
Oh, so that's what we didn't get
Yeah.
to. Yeah.
So this will
okay.
go on 3 pages.
Okay.
then.
Right.
Okay.
So that's
Yeah.
the way it is. Yeah, that's okay. No. Good for you. That's
Yeah.
what I can say. It's too irresistible as an organizing tool, but
Yeah.
it is diabolical, and I really hate it.
It is.
Still do it.
It's definitely sad at some points.
Oof.
So, yeah.
Scary at times.
Just tell me when you're ready to go on the air.
Okay. I think we are ready.
All right, step 1 is your timer set to 59:59?
Yep.
Throw the switch. Is the light on?
Yes, it is.
Okay, put the clapper in front of your face. When you hit the clapper, you're on the air.
Welcome to Talking Peace with the Interfaith Peace Network, being produced here at Think Twice Radio in the home of the future, thanks to our producer, Richard Wicca. Thanks, Richard. And today, I'm your host, Vicki Ross. I'm here with Denise Abbott. So Denise is here from is the president of the AFL-CIO Buffalo, or Western New York.
Buffalo Central Labor Council.
Buffalo Central Labor Council. So Buffalo Central Labor Council, and she has been very, very busy, not just with it's the CYA.
CWA.
CWA, sorry.
Yep, that's okay.
Okay, I'm too used to that other phrase.
Yeah.
Yeah, CWA 1198.
1168.
Oh,
But you were darn
1168.
close.
No,
Yeah,
no,
that's good.
I keep missing the ball, and
That's
I keep trying anyway. Anyway, so Denise, I know you've been very busy with getting ready for the parade, so we're very excited that you found time to come and join us.
Oh, thanks for having me. I appreciate it very much. I appreciate the ask.
Well, I think it's so important what you're doing, and you're certainly in the news and especially labor is in the news all the time, and when it isn't, it should be.
Right.
But anyway, so
Right. We can
it's,
definitely agree on that. That's for sure.
yeah. So anyway, and especially with Labor Day, this is a key time to really think about. And of course, we've been talking about all of our essential workers. So this is just the time and place. So before we start really in earnest, if we could talk a little bit about our values, the values that you think of when you think of the work you're doing or the things we're going to talk about today. What are the values that you really want to uphold?
So sure, I think our mission within the Central Labor Council through the AFL-CIO is really bringing dignity, bringing some equality, improving lives for the working people of Western New York. How do we do that? We do that through organizing. We do that through helping with public policy, getting agendas in the public forefront to improve the lives of the working people. So I think our values really, and I think we live them. I definitely live them. I definitely try to bring them to the table. In everything that I do in representing the Buffalo Central Labor Council and representing CWA Local 1168. I'm their health and safety director, and I work diligently trying to make the lives of all of our members safe and healthy, and keeping things in the forefront of protecting them in every way that I can.
And, I think when I think of the Central Labor Council, and especially of the work you do as your own profession, as we were talking actually before the show about nursing,
right?
Is that compassion is such an important part, is thinking about, what do people need, putting people first, and the common good.
Right.
Right.
Being a nurse has taught me all of that. I learn every day, every time I work. I learn about humanity. I learn about myself and everything that I do. And I think having that as the president of the Buffalo Central Labor Council, because things pop up so often, tragedy happens. We have a group out on strike. We have people that are in need.
Right.
You find out low-income workers are desperate for help. In many different ways.
Sure.
So having that compassion, having that empathy, and learning how to adapt to it. What are their needs? Asking the right questions really does help with that.
Right. Oh, it's so important, and so key, so very key. No, those are values to really exciting to uphold, and I want to say certainly, actually, this is the Interfaith Peace Network doing this, that it's in all of the faith traditions about caring for each other, caring for the people, for the common good. There's not a religion that doesn't include that.
Right.
So just compassion and, are we our brothers and sisters keepers, that we should care for each other.
Correct. I think you have to have that. I think as a human being, a productive human being, you have to have compassion.
Right.
I think we do have to start thinking about one another in more ways than what we do already.
Right. And actually, what we were saying, I'm a social worker, and so I feel like social workers and nurses are so aligned in a lot of things.
Right.
Really. But even also, I actually studied economics as well, international economic development. And I want to say, from the economics point of view, which still has something to do with compassion, or when it doesn't, it ought to.
It should. No, you're right. Right.
That the economics of it, we are in such a crazy position right now where, the United States has had the worst income and asset distribution in the developed world since the 80s and before. And it has only gotten worse, and then it's gotten vastly worse over the pandemic.
Right. Correct.
So
and I think you have to have that. I think if you don't understand why things are happening in people's lives, why maybe they're depressed, why maybe they're ill, why maybe they need your help. A lot of that is economically driven.
Right.
So you have to understand that in order to sometimes to help or assist or understand what it is that's needed of you to make things a little better. Absolutely.
Right. So economic justice is really a value to uphold too.
Absolutely.
And that's
Absolutely.
actually that's in all of our religions too.
Yeah.
Really, one way and another. I mean, certainly. So anyway, well, let's just switch gears a
Sure.
little bit, because with all of that, those principles that we want to celebrate, I know there's a big celebration that is Labor Day.
Correct.
So tell us about the Labor Day parade.
So I'm just so excited about it. As we were talking, it's probably one of the most exhausting things that I've been involved in for months now. But it's a celebratory day that we've been looking forward to. It got canceled last year, which was extremely disappointing. But this year it's back, and so on Monday, the Buffalo Central Labor Council will be hosting our annual Labor Day parade, and this year's theme is celebrating essential workers, putting in the forefront essential workers, and really everybody who's marching in the parade has become an essential worker for all that they do. Not just nursing, not just the healthcare fields, but we have bus drivers, we have grocery store workers, we have mailmen and mailwomen, we have truck drivers, those that are delivering the food, those that are delivering goods. We have teachers. We have all those that work in the schools, custodians, nurses in the schools. We represent such a wide variety, and all of them have become essential. Everybody has become essential. So this year, we really want to take the time and make sure that essential workers are celebrated on this Labor Day.
Right. Well, it's so true, and it is so key that people's functions, I mean, this is back to that sort of the holistic view, means let's look at the economy and
Right.
the people's different functions in that people's, every function is important.
Right.
And the ones that are the most important are the most basic to our survival. And those are the ones that we should be celebrating the most. And they are the ones who get, it's not news to you or to any of us, really, how they are the ones that get the least pay, get the least anything.
Right. It's that low-income worker that
Right.
has really struggled through the pandemic.
Right.
Many of the establishments, many of the businesses, might have closed down for a period of time,
Right.
gone part-time, have asked people to stay home. It really is that low-income worker who needs us the absolute most, who should be celebrated
Right.
the greatest.
Right.
Absolutely.
And paid for the risks they're taking, for the hard work they're doing, and everything else.
Absolutely. I mean, all of the essential workers that we represent have put their lives on the line.
Right.
From the beginning of this pandemic. There was no point where it was greater for anybody than anyone else. But everybody stepped up. Everybody said, what can we do? How do we get through this? And united and came through and are still fighting. I mean, we're still in the pandemic. I mean, let's be
Right.
honest
Yes,
about that.
of
The
course.
pandemic is still here. The numbers are
Absolutely.
starting to go up again.
Right.
So we have put up, and it's not just risking your lives doing their jobs. It's also, we've had a lot of aggression. You've had a lot of people who have, bucked the system a little bit, who don't believe in what's been happening.
Right.
We've had, people screamed at, people had things thrown at them,
Right.
yelled at, taunted for what they're doing and how they do it, and wearing masks. Just simply wearing a mask has been, such an ordeal and a fight. You have teachers up in the front of the classroom that just want to protect themselves, and the fight over masks has been tremendous.
Right.
Whether you believe in it or you don't believe in it, it's been tremendous. So a lot of these essential workers, as we started, it wasn't just putting their lives on the line. It's been dealing with all of the aftermath that goes along with the pandemic: fear, grief,
Right.
overwhelming, panic, all of that. So,
And then I hate to say, going along with some other things that are really, do we have a civil society? I mean, still so far, somewhat, mostly yes, but there's a level of, a lack of civil society, or even just plain violence, ramping out of control.
And we've seen it.
That gets more and more regular, and we won't, this is not a show about
Right.
guns, so we won't go there. But except that, even that, there's just more risk in every kind of way, more stress on people in every kind of way.
Yeah. It's been hard asking somebody to just put on a mask. If the regulations say you have to have one on, and how do you approach somebody? Is this somebody approachable that I can ask them to put on a mask?
Right.
So we've had a lot of our essential workers that have been confronted or, like I said, yelled at for asking somebody to put on a mask.
Well, I want to say, especially nurses. I still, I want to go there because that's so interesting to me that you are a nurse. I was saying, CWA stands for communication workers, doesn't it?
Correct. Yep.
So that's why I was a little thrown off by that. And so I was very interested to find that you're a nurse. And I think that's all the better for back to that holistic view about what's needed.
Yeah.
And if we're going to talk about people who have really just done what do you call it? The yo woman's work.
Yeah.
And the yo person's work of caring for people in the pandemic and being highly, just in every way, at risk, at stress, at under unbearable pressure. And
it is. And it's made even more difficult with staffing shortages.
Right.
I think that's one of the things that the labor community has come, and surrounded us with, and has come with their help in regards to, making sure that nurses have their supplies, nurses have staffing, and it's not just us nurses, it's also, the staff at the hospital. You have EVS, you have dietary workers, you have the respiratory therapists, you have occupation, the list can go on, and we're all working short, and we're working through this pandemic again with all of those same emotions, fear and grief and overwhelming, and I think many people have reached burnout.
Right.
Many people are frustrated, but the short staffing has been extremely difficult. So the labor community, we just had an organized informational picket in front of Catholic Health in regards to, the incredible short staffing, the incredible inability to have supplies and take care of patients. So it's been incredible.
Well, part of it, I feel like we just have to reorganize things in such a way. Now, first, as far as nurses go, I was just saying before my sister, well, first of all, my sister being a paraplegic would be part of it, but anybody who's had any family, even our aging parents or passing parents, anybody
sick kids,
who's had
anybody.
Sick kids, absolutely sick kids. So anybody who is a nurse, I want to say, well, first of all, one of the things people said, nurses get blank done. They get it done because it has to get done, and they just find a way of getting it done.
Yeah.
And when my sister was sick at the very end, I remember saying, I would kiss their feet.
Yeah.
For the care that was given to me.
I'm very proud of the people that I work with, the people that we represent. Nurses are incredible. I'm happy to be one, but I'm more proud of the people that CWA represents and all of the unions that represent, and all of the hospital, all of the staff, all the workers, all the job titles.
Yes.
It's incredible work that gets done. Like you said, we know how to get it done. And, we can gather up and we can do it. And we do. And we do it as best as we can with what we have.
Yeah, well, I think this is where labor is, and the labor movement is so important that people, to have, let's go back to economic justice that we were just talking really about compassion and caring for people. That economic justice, which also is about compassion.
Right.
It's like, when we look at different systems, socialism or capitalism or something, which we have a mixed economy, but there are certain things about capitalism, that giving people a chance to be creative, to run your own show and things like that can be very helpful. That competition can cause people to do a better job because you need to do a better job and things. So let's say all of that is a given. We're not in danger of not having enough competition. That would be the first. Oh, well, no, I'm already wrong on that. But let's leave that aside. Is that one of the things is that definitely having the CEO is making 300 times what the other person, and this has only continued to get worse. It is so ridiculous that it brings up like the feudal times, and the just extreme oppression of people.
Right.
So that is what we can't have, and that is what labor.
Absolutely. And I think that goes back to, the Labor Day parade.
Right.
We celebrate all of labor. That is our one day to stop and celebrate each other and say, where are we? What have we done? Look at our accomplishments, but also to reflect on what we still need to get done.
Right.
And how do we do that? We organize. Right. We rally around and we organize and bring that to light. And try to, again, bring forth public agenda. We try to do those things to improve the lives of the working people.
And also what you said about equity, I want to bring that in because of intersectionality. So that's another thing we know, is that not only, so when, like there's Women's Equal Pay Day, which of course that depends if you're a white woman, it's one day. It's not too far. It's at 73? I
think it's 73 or 74%, something like that.
Whereas if you go to women of color, of any of the women of color. So indigenous women, black women, Latina women are just that much less, paid.
Right.
That it's,
which is
around
absolutely awful. It's absolutely awful.
Right.
If you're doing the same job as me and if we're doing the same job as a man, why can't we make that same amount of money?
It absolutely needs to be. I don't know how they get around it. Is
because
it about seniority?
We've settled for it because we settle for it.
We don't even know what people are making?
It could be. That could be. But I think now you can't hide your income anymore. It's easy, there's internet geniuses everywhere that can figure out, who's making what. But I think the issue it's the norm. You hear people say it. Well, that's how it's always been. Well, that's the way it goes, right? Those are the sayings that you hear. And we can't settle for that.
No, not at all. We cannot.
As a woman, it's just unsettling to me. So why, we need to work harder on that.
And also GLBTQIA people, very differently treated, all the as issues that trans people have had, and
are still having
in the workplace, and pay differential only being just the first layer of all of the other things that can happen. Job discrimination, and even harassment and all kinds of things.
Right. The workplace violence that goes on, the workplace harassment that goes on is difficult. And I hear a lot of that as the health and safety officer at CWA. There's a lot of sexual issues that happen. There's a lot of violence that occurs. And some of it's, swept under the carpet because this is an important person that you're having this with, or this was an important person who did this. And we can't risk, losing that person. But it's unacceptable, no matter who it is, no matter how it happens. It's unacceptable. And we've seen that. Didn't we just recently see that?
We're getting there.
Yeah.
So what I feel is it's so weird that, and we were talking about stress and, that everything, I feel like things are getting ratcheted up in a sort of a way where the good things are better and the bad things are worse. The good possibilities are stronger and clearer what we need to do. And then the push in the other direction is also stronger, and the violence and the lack of civil society. So both those things are happening at the same, and I always feel like, and this is maybe I'm like I want to say, broken record, if I can still use that phrase, that the same old thing, but that we're at a point where we are at the fork in the road. So it's going to be taking care of people on the planet, or we're just give up and,
Yeah, but I don't think we could. I don't think we can do that. We can't. We can't give up. But I do understand what you're saying.
A choice we have to have a choice for serious change.
Right.
It can't be business as usual anymore.
No,
the climate tells us that.
No. Right.
Right. For all the reasons that we just said, and all the things that we just said about compassion and equity and economic justice. Right. Is that also environmental justice, which, of course, the people who are more at risk, again, are the people who are more vulnerable, are the low income, people of color, women,
gender identity,
and especially in the intersectionalities, the gender identity, all of that factors into where you're able to live, what you're able to do when a big storm comes or something. And, of course, they're coming all the time.
Right. And that's the one thing that labor's, has always been working on is, what can we do to improve the lives of everyone? Right. Of all of that working class. How do we help that low income worker put food on their table? I mean, we see it all the time. You have these low income workers who are working 2 or 3 jobs just to put food on the table, but are struggling because they don't have insurance or they don't have health care benefits that cover what they need. The sickly individual who's, got some comorbidities that is working but can't pay for the medications.
Right. Well, this is where, when I started to say, we don't have a problem with there's not enough competition. Well, what I sort of meant by that is my experience is everything has to be a contest, everything has to be a competition. So, that cooperative thing is not really in gear. But it is true also that in this society that is very often, run by and for the corporations because of the lobbying that goes on and things like that. Then now we do have the too big to fail and the mega corporations, and what they get away with doing to the workers is just unbelievable. Right.
Well, this is where our new initiative has been pushed, is with our PRO Act. So, the protect the right to organize. And that is one of the things, if it's been, through the Senate, we need to get it pushed completely through. And that is one thing that can help improve many, many lives, is passing this PRO Act and giving everybody the ability to organize.
Right.
They can organize. I mean, we just saw it the other day with Starbucks.
Just in the paper.
Yes,
yeah, I know.
Which is incredible.
In paper.
Yeah,
yes.
Which is incredible. You have workers that want to organize, that want to make their lives better, but they also want to do it not just for themselves, but for the corporations that they work for.
Right.
Which could also we've seen that it improves not just the employee's life, but the employer's productivity as well.
Right.
When you're paying your workers a living wage, they're there. They show up. They feel dignified. They feel, that you've actually, you're giving them the ability to feed their families. And so you have employees who are going to stick around. You have employees that are proud of where they work. So this is one of the ways that we can do it, is with this PRO Act. So it's extremely important. It will give them the right to organize. It protects, as once they're organized, to get contracts within the first year of them organizing, so that these big corporations can't, delay or use their managerial tactics to, bash the unions and things of that nature. There's a lot of protections in the PRO Act. But this is one of the ways that we can try and get some economic justice for a lot of people, especially in this community.
Well, we definitely need to. There's no question that we need to. And I think we need so much of a a different way of thinking about doing things, back to why it can't be business as usual. So also in the workplace, sometimes it's always, there's an over competition, right? So what they've seen is when people are working cooperatively, when they get variety and a real team work in the workplace and in the classroom or any setting that you want to pick, things get done better.
Right. Productivity goes up.
Right.
Morale goes up.
Right.
And you definitely see it. There's less sick days.
Right.
Right. People are healthier.
Right.
They're willing to come in. They're willing to stay late if you need them.
Right.
There's definite benefits to that type of atmosphere. And, how do you do that? Our thought has always been, let's organize.
Right.
Let's organize.
Right. Absolutely. Organizing, working together.
Right.
Caring for each other. And that's back to, this is a way of doing that.
Right.
And this is where management needs to do that too.
Right.
They have an obligation to the worker. So when it's out of balance, and it is out of balance, back to, what we know, the actual facts about income and asset distribution in this country, and about reparations for that matter.
Right.
That just, getting more equity means getting more equitable, which means you have to look at what has happened and where we are now and how to get things to be more in balance because they're out of balance.
Right. It's listening to one another. What are your
Sure.
needs? What can I do to help you? It's a lot less of it's all about me, and it's all, it has to be a lot of what can I do for you, right? What can I do for us? What can I do for my community? And not just worrying about oneself.
Right. And that is where we get more healthy communities, businesses, industries, not what we have going on so much.
And we've done that as a labor community. We've gone into the different communities and how can we help? One of the John Muty, who is the Grand Marshal for our Labor Day Parade, was the president of the Buffalo Central Labor Council. And one of the things he's so proud of is some of the activities that they've done for the community. So when Flint, Michigan, Michigan had the water issue, the labor community came together and we had thousands of water bottles. We had 2 gigantic trucks. The Teamsters came, they loaded their trucks up, and John and many of the other labor leaders got in these trucks and delivered it to Flint, Michigan.
Wow.
And they said
I remember that.
Yeah, it was incredible. And the reaction from the group when they dropped that water off was just overwhelming. They, to hear grown men say, I cried. It's incredible, So that's one thing that we've done. Another thing is in the fruit belt. We've gone into the fruit belt. We've looked it through the community, and they redid one of the women's porches. Redid it, and they brought together the carpenters. You brought together, the building trades. You had nurses out there working. You had linemen out there working. You had the truck drivers out there working. You had bus drivers out there rebuilding. With the help of CEJ, and I believe that Winkosh was out there with their help. You had people giving back to the community, and that's something we're very proud of. Is that labor never forgets that we have to give back.
Well,
and Saturday, we're also giving back. So this Saturday, we're having a car wash at the Irish Center from 10 until 1 for a free car wash for essential workers. So if you're an essential worker and you want your car washed, come on over. On Saturday at the Irish Center, we will be doing free car washes. So, we're thinking of ways, how do we give back?
Sure.
How can we do it? And so we've got a lot of ideas, and once this pandemic eases and we can do more of it, we're going to be out in the community even more than what we are now.
Well, one of the things is also when people have some bandwidth, if they aren't as, completely oppressed or, scrambling to just survive, then you have a little more give to be able to give.
Right.
Whether it's financially or of your time or whatever, but if you have three jobs you're trying to do, you're not going to.
You're not able to. You're stretched too
Right,
thin,
right.
And again, that falls back on, what can we do to improve their lives so people aren't
Right.
stretched so thin, so they
Right.
can be home with their children, they can be home with
Right.
their spouses, they can be productive in their own homes, helping their children with their schoolwork, showing up at school events, those
Right.
types of things. I can't imagine. I'm a very lucky woman. I'm very lucky. I was able to attend my daughter's events, but I can't imagine working so many jobs that,
Right.
I would have to give something like that up. And I see people do it all the time, and it just breaks my heart. So,
Well, that's where we need to just reconfigure things, and I think there are ways of doing that. And part of it is just thinking outside the box.
right.
Is
Well, I think some of it
creative
is
about
outside
how-
the box, but I think some of it also is we know what we have to do.
Right, sure.
We just, we need to get together and we need to do it. But there's a lot of, again, as you had said before, there's a lot of back and forth, especially with the previous administration and, all of that. We still have a lot of fighting amongst ourselves that we need to move beyond
Oh, right.
so that we can start doing the right thing.
Well, if people, first for people to really think about, I think of Dr. King so often. It's always the right time to do the right thing.
Right.
Now, I'm going to say it is true that when you think of something like, here's another one, bend on everything except on principle, is that's not a simple statement. It's a great statement. I love it. But, sometimes there are conflicting principles. But so
Right.
that's where, truth and love, which is what he also talked about, can help us understand what do we need to do. And part of it is about, back to what you said, talking with each other and
Right.
communicating. And then, the truth is when people are being taken advantage of, call it that.
Right.
That is a truth.
Right.
You can't say I don't think anybody really is seriously going to defend somebody making 300 times what their workers are making. And yet it happens all the
All the
time.
time. All the
And
time.
mostly people agree, in theory, they agree that it's not all right. And then the excuse is, they give a lot of their money away in charity. Well, first of all, what kind of charity?
Right. Where are they giving that money?
Yes, and what kind of tax issues are they because their charity will allow them not to pay any taxes, or who knows? There's all the
Right.
little, ins and outs. So part of it is, letting those things guide us and then really, looking at what is really the fair thing and working it through, I think consensus, that balance between, that balance that will make it power with instead of power over.
Over, right.
So part of that means that we have to power up so that the needs of people and the planet are really being met and not, sometimes I think people also get confused because things are presented to them in such a way with such a spin. And if they're just, it's the Kool-Aid, people just
Oh,
get-
totally. I
they-
agree with you.
they-
If you're only watching one station, you're only hearing one message, right?
Right.
You have to educate yourself. That
Right.
is so important. Educate yourself on these issues, and you can't just assume. We know what assuming does.
Right. Right.
But you definitely have to hear all sides, and then, like you said, bring your principles to it.
Right.
Well, how does this make you feel? How can you improve it? Is
Right.
this the truth? Am I hearing the truth? Do
Right.
I got to seek and find that truth? Where do I fit into that? And how can I either improve on it or how can I become part of it to keep that, good message or keep that good work going?
Right. Well, I feel like things are a lot of good things are happening, but the dangers are very much looming or even also are happening.
Right.
They're happening.
Right.
So we need to take our opportunities to celebrate. Oh, I will say there's another opportunity to celebrate is something called Rising Together that I hope you'll be interested in, not before the parade.
No, nothing until, as we talked about, nothing until September 7th.
Oh,
this
I'd
parade
give you
has
a couple
been,
days
I'm so
after that.
excited. Like I
Yeah.
said, I'm so excited,
Right.
but the work that's gone into this parade is incredible. I could not have done it without the committee that's together,
Sure.
without John Muty. He's been unbelievably helpful.
Sure.
Peter DeJesus, the president of the
Yes,
AFL-CIO,
yes, yes.
has been incredible. George Boger and
great.
Angela Blue over at the ELF office and Richard Lipsitz have been incredible. But
Sure.
the 6th, we are celebrating Labor Day. That whole day is occupied.
Well, the
with
whole
just-
weekend, right?
Yeah, yeah. So
right,
Saturday,
you're already
yep,
giving away the
car washes. Yep. And then
right?
the parade, we're lining up at 11. We're marching at 12. As you called it, our party afterwards.
Right.
We're going to have some food. We have
Music.
Music.
I know you
Yep.
will.
Mark Mazer and his band are coming.
Oh,
and,
good.
We have a clown, Mr. No, is coming, and he does balloon animals, which the kids have looked forward to year after year.
Sure.
And I cannot be remiss in saying that this event would not happen without Highmark Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Western New York. They are our sponsor for this event, and
Really?
we would not have any of the special stuff that we have
Right.
planned for that day if it wasn't
Right.
for Highmark Blue Cross and Blue Shield. So I'm very grateful for them as well.
Sure.
But yeah, after September
exciting.
6th, you can. I'm open to many different things. Whatever. Yeah.
Well, the only thing I'd say, because I always feel like this is my one song, and I know lots of variations on this theme, but that all of our issues are connected.
Yeah.
And so, we need to celebrate all of it, but we also need to make progress on all of it. So
Right.
even as we're talking, you notice that we're talking about racial justice. We're talking about gender justice. We're
Right.
talking about environmental justice. And, of course, we're talking about economic justice.
Right.
So there's all these things. And what we haven't talked about, but this is another thing, I just told you when I got here, I'm working hard on getting kids out of Afghanistan.
Right.
So another kind of justice would be that we stop using all our, so much of, more than half, well over half of our discretionary budget on making bombs and war material.
Right.
And then we don't have anything for people's needs.
Right.
For the things that we need.
Right.
Though for our safety net, for our infrastructure, for our education and health and welfare for people.
Right. Right.
So much goes into that. And yes, there are jobs, but let's have the jobs of taking care of each other, not of, well, I call it Fear Inc. For the jobs in Fear Inc., which is the jobs that are to control, intimidate, incarcerate, or even kill. Mm-hmm. So there's jobs for that. And I don't say they're, well, what can I say? I believe in nonviolence, but I also believe that there are times when people maybe are not safe to be out and about,
Right.
So
Right.
that needs to be dealt with, right?
Right.
So there's ways of working on that, but there are ways that make it worse, and there are ways that make
Right.
it better.
Right.
And what we're doing in those areas is not making it better. What we did in Afghanistan, we did it for 20 years. It didn't work.
Right.
So anyway, I didn't mean to get off on a soapbox.
No, that's
but,
okay. No.
actually, I know that the union had that. Resolution 51 or something that was an anti-war resolution quite recently passed by you all.
I'm not sure. I couldn't speak on
there
it because
was
I'm
one.
not sure.
There was one, and
Yeah.
I will share it with you. I'll be sure to bring it to
Okay.
the parade when I go.
Good.
Which I will
Excellent.
Go.
Yeah.
And anyway, or that's something for after
Another
the
time.
parade,
Yeah,
after the
absolutely.
because I have all your contact
Yeah.
info now, and all your particulars. So anyway. So that is something people want to do the right thing. People want to
Absolutely.
do a good job.
There's people that are out there that are willing to give of their time.
Sure.
And we talked about that, right? There's some people that are stretched so thin that, an hour is difficult for them to give, but they still give it. And then there's other people that have time to give. And how do I do that? And, but I get that a lot. People are willing to help, but what are our issues and where do we need the help? And I
Right.
think there's an incredible amount of work that has to get done, but we got to prioritize, right? We need to figure out.
Yeah, and we need to figure out what we need to do as a society. So there are a
Right.
lot of things that we're doing that aren't working well. So there's some real this is why I was saying no business as usual, because
Yeah.
at this fork in the road, we need to do things differently. And so that means people who want to work and do a good job. I mean, I want to say picking up litter is one of my very favorite jobs. I've been
Yeah.
doing it since I was, But so there's all different jobs that need to get done. But there are some jobs that do not need to get done. But people will do them because they need a job.
Right.
So when we
Right.
structure things differently, so we don't prop up the fossil fuel industry anymore. Let the people doing those jobs, let them do a different job, which is that job of transforming our society, those transitional work, which is massive, to get off of the fossil fuel industry.
Right.
Right? So now all of those things, they take boldness, they take courage to really transform. And it takes really personal work, just like you were saying, trying to live by our own values, really listen, really think about it, and take a risk.
Right.
Take the risk
and educate.
sometimes. And educate. Absolutely.
Yeah, educate. I
Yep.
think that's the most important part. Educate.
Sure.
Why are we doing that?
Sure.
If people understood why things happen the way they happen, or why we do things the way that we do things, or the reason as to why we choose to do it, it goes a long way.
Or why we should change it.
Right. Right.
That's
Exactly.
the other piece.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. Because sometimes we keep doing things because that's what we've always done. We don't know a better way.
Right.
But it takes the courage. Well, knowing that it's not working, that's the first thing. You have to know that.
Right.
And then if we know that, then we have to figure out what can we try, or what, has possibility to work, or what other people are doing that does work,
Right.
or things like that.
I think we have to be willing to fail at certain stuff too, to
Also,
find,
sure.
take that chance,
Right.
fail at it, and say,
Right.
okay, well, at least I tried that. Now that's not working. Now I know I can cross that off my list and I can move on, right?
Right. Try something else.
Yeah, yeah.
Right.
So I think that's something that people need to be cognizant of as well, is that, failing happens, and that's okay.
Sure.
Right.
Right. It can be expected.
Yeah. Yeah. Things don't
It's
always
going to
work out.
happen.
And,
It's going to happen.
yeah.
Yeah. At times.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. So it's such an exciting time. Right now, I think, we have so much going on. It's such a critical time in the creation right now. And there's very exciting prospects. There's very scary prospects. There's very, very much, and you're in such a key role yourself, So how did you even get to what are some of the things that brought you to this point?
So, I think one of the things that brought me to this point was just being raised in a union household. My father, was a union member. My father worked at Westinghouse many, many years ago. Westinghouse closed. My dad, in his 40s, found himself without a job, and his skill was working in a factory. My father took a job as a garbage man for the town of Cheektowaga, and was very proud of it. I mean,
Right.
it was a
Yes.
job, and he was feeding his family on it,
Right.
and he
Right.
was very happy with that, and then worked his way up. And my father retired several years ago from the town of Cheektowaga after 20 years. But growing up in that atmosphere, that my father took work very seriously. My mother worked my whole life. My grandmother was with us during the summertime, so my mother was a hard worker as well. And growing up with that mindset,
Right.
and growing up with those values, that work means something, and there's value to it. And you're not going to sit on, as my father always said, you're not going to sit around here and do nothing. Get up and get moving.
Right.
So, with that mindset, I became a nurse, and I started with nursing. I was a steward just with CWA, and then I became a chief steward, and then I got more involved in the union and became their health and safety officer. And with that, it was a lot of communication with many other unions. We did a lot of education with the steel workers. We did education with SEIU. We have joint contracts with
Right.
SEIU, so
Sure,
I was
they're
very
great.
close with SEIU.
Yeah.
And with doing all that, I got involved in so many of the labor's events and labor's work, and just I was very close with John, and we did a lot of work together. And John, being president of the Central Labor Council, he became president of his local. And as we talked before, his hours became less and less that he was available. And he said, I just can't, there's too much work that needs to be done with the Central Labor Council, and I can't dedicate enough time to it.
Right.
So I was asked to see if I wanted to fill in interim for him until the end of his presidency, which I did. And then I was elected. So that's kind of how it came, but I've had a lot of help over time, become close with so many people in the labor movement. And so I credit a lot of it to, the work that labor did and showed me how important it is that I wanted to continue with that. So Richard Lipsitz, he's a mentor. He's an incredible individual who I give a lot of credit to for getting me involved and keeping me involved. He's been somebody that I've been able to call immediately and get his advice. He listens to me vent. And then another person also is the president of my local, Corey Gambini. She's been incredible, and Debbie Hayes, who is the district, CWA District 1 representative, and she has been an absolute mentor to me as well. Between Corey and Debbie, the encouragement I've gotten from them as a woman and encouraging me to continue to do what I'm doing and showing the importance of having women involved has kind of put me in that spot and kept me going.
It's so interesting as I'm hearing you speak. I think about that power, instead of power over, power with, and also how things are changing. So one of the things, of course, I just stepped aside at the Western New York Peace Center. And one of the things I think is just sort of that back to that change is good. And when somebody, when we step aside for somebody new to take over, doesn't mean we're disappearing or going off into the ionosphere or something. There's a ton, as you said, there's so much work to do, and there are so many parts and pieces to, so many parts to play and pieces that need doing. Right. That,
and their experience, I'm very grateful for that they're still there, because their experience comes into play. Why do we do this? What could I do better? And I ask that a lot. What should I have done different? Could I have done something different? Is there something that I missed? And their advice and their help has always been very truthful. And it's been very valuable to me. So I learn as I go, As I said, I'm not afraid of failure, as long as I'm always working on improving. That's the way you go. So.
Well, we're all learning all the time.
Yeah.
No question about that. At every age and stage and everything else.
Always. My parents say it all the time. There's always something to learn in everything that you do.
Right. It's so true. So our last thing, and actually we're getting low on time, but this is, as so many, actually, it's not like we haven't talked about it at all, but how people can help. So first of all, one thing is where people can find, I'd say on the Western New York Peace Center, we have the, when is the gathering time and where and all that. So the Buffalo Central Labor Council has a Facebook page.
Oh, okay. As does the Western New York AFL-CIO. You can find that information there. But the parade again is on Monday, and it's going through this year. We've always done our parade for many years down Abbott Road in South Buffalo, and unfortunately this year Abbott Road is being improved. There's some beautiful sidewalks and things going in, so so we can't use Abbott Road. So this year. Buffalo Council member Chris Scanlon helped us out to find a new route. So we are going to be starting in Lackawanna, believe it or not. And we're starting right at Dorrance and McKinley. There's the circle right there. We'll be lining up on Dorrance Avenue right near the Holy Cross. And we'll be marching down McKinley Parkway to Red Jacket Parkway. We'll be going up Red Jacket Parkway and then into Cazenovia Park. And our party, as you've called it, is right in front of the Peter Crotty Casino. We'll have our little party assembled
same
right
place
there.
That it usually
it's always there. Yeah, it's always been there. Yep. So that's where we will be starting, and that's where we'll be finishing. So, and if anybody, we're encouraging folks to park at Casanova Park. We have buses that we've contracted with to drive people to the parade start.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
I did not know that.
Yes. So that we're not crowding up the streets
Sure.
all through McKinley with cars, and it's a walk. So we don't want anybody to have to.
So when do they start
The buses will start at 10 o'clock.
Okay.
Taking people over to the parade start. So we're asking everybody to show up to the lineup at around 11.
Right.
So that we can get everybody lined up, and the parade will start at 12 o'clock.
Right. Well, that
Right
will
on.
be great.
Yeah.
And then other ways so people can find your Facebook page. There's
Sure. So it's the Buffalo Central Labor Council.
Right.
And then Western New York AFL-CIO Facebook page. If anybody has any questions, they can email me. My email is dabbott, and that's ABBOTT, at CWA1168.org. Or you can call me, area code 716. It's 807-8378, and I've fielded tons and tons of calls
I bet you have.
in regards to it. Yeah, so it's incredible. Like I said, this year is so exciting because last year we couldn't have it, so it was pretty
Right.
disappointing. So this year it's like an awakening. Everybody just feels so excited, so energized to do it. But I do want to let everybody know that we do understand that we're still in a pandemic. So
Oh, sure.
we do ask the buses, when you're on the bus, you are required to wear a mask. If you're
Right.
comfortable wearing a mask, you should be wearing your mask.
If you're not comfortable wearing a mask, you should be walking.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. So,
Or making other arrangements.
right,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
But we
No
do.
problem
We're going to
with that.
have
Right.
we're going to have hand sanitizing stations available for folks. We do have some masks available for folks. So
Right.
I encourage everybody that's comfortable that wants to come out to come on out. If you just want to sit and watch the parade, McKinley is a long road. Red Jacket's a nice long road.
Right.
Bring a lawn chair and come and sit and watch us and cheer us on as we march by. You're going to see politicians. You're going to see every union throughout Western New York marching down. You're going to see
Yay.
fire trucks. You're going to see
Yay.
NFTA buses. You're going to see postal worker vehicles coming through. You're going to see floats that everybody's taken time to create, and just a lot of pride in labor.
Right. Well, it's very exciting. And I'd say on the longer term, too, there's a lot of work to do. We need to do it together. We can find so many ways and times that we can gather and listen and learn from each other.
Absolutely.
And collaborate with each other. I'm so glad that we've met now.
Yes, absolutely. I'm
Yeah,
thrilled.
yeah,
Thank
yeah,
you
me
again
too.
for having
Oh,
me.
too.
This is a great conversation.
Yes, yes. Well, it's very exciting to me, very energizing, and I just feel that, we're on the verge of really doing things the way, the way that we need to.
Yeah.
So that we
We can
so
get
that-
things done.
So that
Yeah.
life will continue in this creation.
Yeah.
Right? That's what we have to do, and
Yeah.
to the good of all. So with the, equity and fairness and compassion and justice that we need for all of us and for the creation.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
we're working on that together.
I'm in it.
Yeah, I know you are. Well, thanks a cajillion.
Oh, thank you
I
again
wanna
for
say-
having me.
So, Denise, thank you so much. I want to say we've been talking, this is Talking Peace.
Yeah.
And we've been talking peace in truth and love. Thank you so very
Thank
much.
you.
Thank
That
you
was
so
awesome.
very much. Yes, that was really great. Very, very good.
So happy. Thank
Yeah,
you.
me too. Oh, me too. Yep. That was excellent. Very, very good. That'll be a wonderful show.
Very good.
So it's going on the Facebook. It's on the Western
Yeah,
New York Facebook.
what I'll do is
I'm sorry I botched everything at the
No,
beginning.
no,
I
you
almost
didn't.
said,
No.
should we start over again? Because I usually don't go that bad.
Yeah,
This
no.
is another one of the reasons that I stepped aside.
But
It
that's what makes it real.
Well, it was
I have
real.
to tell
You
people
can tell
that's
it's
what makes
real.
it real. That's what makes it honest, right?
Right,
Is
right,
that
right.
we're
Right.
nobody's perfect, and
Right.
we all say,
Right.
no,
right.
I
Well,
think that's what
because
makes it